So hi everybody, this video is about GDPR basics or fundamentals. So we are using the concept of general data protection regulation, right? So in building our web applications and APIs wherever, right? So we need to use their basics like transmitting the data in an encrypted way, and when it is and when the data is at rest, right? So we need to keep certain things based upon the classic criticality of the data. We need to keep it at rest and all these things, so in the database whatever it is, right? So considering that, so I was just doing some googling to put some content about the basics of this GDPR. So while I was googling, I came across this link. So at the end of this video, right, I will share it on the YouTube description, right? So you can also take a look. I found it somewhat simple. Okay, so I just want to go through this, and thanks to this link. It covers the basics, not too technical, but we can understand what is actually General Data Protection Regulation Act. Okay, so let me go to the second page. So let me go quickly through this. I think I have around 24 pages, but a very small brief text which is easy to understand. Let's go quickly. So in 1998, a law was introduced in the EU about how your personal information needs to be protected. This law is called the Data Protection Act. So how your personal information needs to be protected, that's the key here. And the next one is personal information is any information about you that identifies you as an individual and is not meant for everyone to know. You say personal information is any information about you that identifies you as an individual and is not meant for everyone to know. Okay, makes sense. This can include but is not limited to, okay, your gender, date of birth, and if you are gay. Oh, yeah, yes, it makes sense. Bisexual, straight, and whatever it is. Okay, that belongs to personal information. Your address and phone numbers, yes, that's true. Information about your disabilities of health, yes, makes sense. Health information. Your bank details, of course. Information about your employment, like how much you get paid, yes, this is important. Or if you have ever got into trouble at work. Okay, this really makes sense. How much you get paid, or if you have ever out into trouble at work. Okay. Notes from your supervisions or appraisals, exactly, within the organization, right? Nobody needs to know about our annual review other than us and our reporting manager or the supervisor. Okay, so your personal opinions about someone. Your personal opinions about someone. Okay, that becomes a data privacy, right? Since 1998, a lot has changed around how personal information is collected and used. Okay, so we give out our details more often, like when we buy things online. The web applications, that's true. When we subscribe to newsletters, yes, our email ID. Or when we apply for jobs and volunteering opportunities, yes, our phone number, everything. Yes, we do that. Aadhaar, our SSN, whatever it is, PAN card, and anything. Okay. So this is why there is a new law from the 25th of May 2018 that says how your personal information needs to be protected. So actually, this is the key. How your personal information needs to be protected. This new law is called the EU General Data Protection Regulation, in short. Okay, because the UK is still in the EU, all organizations need to follow this law. After the UK leaves the EU, this law may stay the same or a new one will replace it. We do not know yet. Okay, the Information Commissioner's Office, in short ICO, is a public organization that reports directly to the Parliament. I think it's in UK. This organization makes sure that everybody who has to follow GDPR law does so. So this is the organization, I think, which maintains it. This organization makes sure that everybody who has to follow GDPR too. This organization makes sure that that everybody who has to follow GDPR law does so. Okay, they can investigate organizations. Look at this. ICO can investigate organizations to see if they follow the GDPR law. They can also fine them if they do not follow GDPR. GDPR covers a few things. Make sure data is collected responsibility. Okay, I always think in the application perspective. Making sure data is collected responsibly. This means that personal data must be collected in a fair and a responsible way, which follows the law. Okay, keep it encrypted in database, like username, user account, email address mainly. And if someone is going to subscribe to your application, or if they going to log into your application, if they're going to get onboarded, they give the personal details, right? Mainly the mobile number and the email address, those things comes under the personal data. Okay, it also stops people and organizations from collecting more personal information than they actually need to. For example, you don't need to tell the online shop what your gender is when you buy a sofa. Makes sense. I need to tell. Okay. General GDPR makes sure organizations and their employees understand that it is their responsibility to look after the personal information they hold. GDPR makes sure organizations and their employees understand that it is their responsibility to look after the personal information they hold. When you build an application, and if you're going to sell that application to your client, it is up to the developers and the security authorities to ensure that the client's personal information is handled safely and securely within the application. That is what I look at this statement. Protecting rights. The new law outlines very specific rights for individuals. It also makes sure these rights are followed. Making sure there is transparency. This means that individuals have the right to know who holds information about them, when they have it, and how it will be used. When I do an application for a client, and the client is having the rights to ask the supplier or the vendor who did the application how the client's user account, email ID, mobile number is handled. So the client is having the right. That is how I see this statement. The aim is to build trust by being open, honest and transparent. Open, honest and transparent. Preventing abuse. The law makes sure that information moves in a free, safe and a secure way across Europe. Okay. Wait. This law makes sure that information moves in a free, safe and secure way. Okay, free, safe and secure way. Okay. It also makes sure that everyone is treated equally and fairly. The law also protects people from criminal activity and abuse of power. To see that. Individual rights, the client's rights. As an individual or a client, you have a set of rights when it comes to protecting information about you. GDPR outlines these rights. They are your right to be informed on how information about you will be used. Yes, you need to ask your supplier or the vendor how your user email ID will be handled. Your right to make changes to information about you that is incomplete or wrong. Perfect. Your right to stop an organization from processing your data. Yes, correct. Processing your data is when information about you is put on a system, looked at, analyzed, used for reports or filed by an organization. Processing your data is when information about you is put on a system, logged at it, analyzed, used for reports or filed. So that is called data processing. Okay, right. Your right to say no to your information being processed or direct marketing. You cannot extract email IDs using some tools, picking up your email ID from another using some thing and bombarding marketing emails. There are tools, but we need to take the consent, right? Before taking one's personal mail ID or some organization mail ID, you need to take the consent. Direct marketing is when a company contacts you directly to sell or advertise their products or services. Direct marketing is Direct marketing is when a company contacts you directly to sell or advertise their products or services. Your right to see a copy of the information others have on you. Your right to see a copy of the information others have on you. Okay. Your right to ask for the information others have on you to be deleted. Okay. You can ask them to delete it. Your right to ask an organization for the information they have on you for you to have and use as you like. Do what I say. Client should tell to the supplier, to the application to whom to supply, the client has the right to tell the information they have on you for you to have and use as you like. They should handle it like that. Okay, they can demand to do it. Okay. As an example, when you fill in an application for a bank loan with one bank, if you want, you can ask for a copy of that information to give to another bank when you apply for a loan there. Come again. As an example, when you fill in an application for a bank loan with one bank, if you want, you can ask for a copy of that information to give to another bank when you apply for a loan there. Oh, okay. Yes, the individual has the right to do that. Okay. This means you do not have to fill in an application again from zero. This will save you time. Your right to have your right to have decisions about you made by a person. Your right to have decisions about you made by a person. This is key. Your right to have decisions about you made by a person. Some organizations use a system to make decisions. These systems are automated like a machine. Okay, I agree. They will not look at everyone as an individual but make decisions based on some very specific information. Okay, for example, think of websites that compare car insurance. You will fill in the information in a form and then the system will give you a quote. Okay, but the system will also use the information available to it on people who have made a false claim in the past on their insurance. This information may be wrong or out of date, and because of this you may get a higher insurance quote or be a refused quote. The system will also use information available to it on people who have made a false claim in the past on their insurance. This information may be wrong or out of date, and because of this you may get a higher insurance quote or be refused to quote. In a case like this, you can ask to have a real person look at your details and make a decision on the quote for your car insurance. Okay, this means that you could discuss with them all the information they use in they use in this decision, and this way find out if they have wrong information about you. Okay, you right, good. So deep it goes. I appreciate that. For GDPR to work, there are some organizations and people who have different roles in making sure the law is obeyed. Yes, correct. Data subject. Yes, okay, data subject. This is the name given to every person when talking about them in relation to their personal information. Data subject. This is you. Okay. This is okay. This we need to be very clear. We need to have a clear understanding on this. This is the name given to every person when talking about them in relation to their personal information. This is you. Personal information is the okay. So data subject. So data processor, that means about the client or the individual, I think so. Data processor. These are the people, organization and companies who collect and use personal information in any way. They can be an online shop or clerk at the bank, okay, or it can be an application. Data controller. This is the person in any organization who decides how and why personal information is personal information. Data controller. This is the person in any organization who decides how and why personal information is processed. Data officer. This is the person in any company who makes sure the law on the data protection is followed. Okay, data officer means the law. Data controller, the person who is creating the application, means he should know how it needs to be handled and processed. Data processor, who collect your personal information in a way. Okay, That means who collect and use your personal information in any way. They can be an online channel. So this is about data. Subject is the individual or the user or the client. Data processor means the way you collect and use your personal information, and data controller means how you are going to handle the data, means how and why the personal information is processed. Okay, data officer means whether you are following the law or not. Make sure the law on the data protection is followed. The Information Commissioner Office, the European Data Protection Board. This is an organization that gives guidance to data controllers and data officers. Okay, data controllers and data officers. Okay, all right. The new law splits data into two categories. Personal data. This is general information about you, like your address, phone number, or date of birth. About you, your address, phone number, date of birth. Special categories of personal data. This category refers to more sensitive information about you, like sensitive data. This is sensitive data. Your race or ethnic origin, your opinion about politics and things related to politics, your religions or your beliefs, if you are a member of a trade union, information about your sex life, like you are a gay or makes sense transgender. Special information about your genes and your body, like that in the biometric documents. Fine. Information about your physical or mental conditions, means that is something sensitive, right? It's very close to a personal stuffs. Okay, that's a sensitivity, the sensitiveness. We call it as a sensitive personal information. Email address, phone number, the contact information, this we can keep it aside, but there's something too personal which we call it as sensitive information. Okay, that's how it is. Process information in a fair and a legal way. Any person or organization should only collect the information that they actually need. That's true. Information should not be used in a way that harms people. Correct. The use of information needs to be transparent. This means that the way it is used must not be hidden or used for reasons or in ways which are hidden. Means you should not hide it from your client or his or her information. You need to keep it transparent, how it is being processed and everything. Okay, that makes sense. It is also forbidden to do anything illegal with the personal information. Yes, okay, you cannot do that. Yes, that makes sense. Next one. Use information only for the reason it was collected. Yes. When asking for personal information, any person or organization needs to be very clear on why they are asking for it. When you're building an application, you need to have some written contracts. Why you are on, when you're onboarding your client, right? You may get his email address, phone number, and all these things. You need to be, there should be some written agreement, and both should have some mutual understanding. And the application developer or the application, the one who builds the application, right, he should have the clarity and he should use it for the only for specific purpose in the application, and it should be agreed upon mutually between the client and the application vendor. The law says a person needs to have the option to opt in to have their personal information collected. Okay. Have the option to opt into they have their personal information collected, right? They should have the option. Yes, you look at this the painting on the left, right? Share information, yes or no. Okay, those things. So it is a responsibility and obligation of the person or the organization that collects this information to give you the option. Okay, they have to. Means actually these two statements, right? We can call it as a consent. If they say no, the vendor should not do that. If a client says don't share this, means the application vendor should not do that. So it's a consent. So consent is the key word I will use to you here. I like to use it here. The same way, the person or organization that collects such personal information needs to make sure you have an easy way of saying if you don't want your information to be used for anything else than the reason you gave it to them. The same way, the person or organization that collects such personal information needs to make sure you have an easy way of saying if you don't want your information to be used for anything else than the reason you gave it to them. Okay, yes, you have, yes, the individual has the right. Okay, Only collect information that is relevant and needed. This means that only the information that is needed must be collected. Collecting more information that is needed for the purpose it is collected is illegal. Think of an example on buying a sofa online we gave before. Okay, right. Collected collected information needs to be correct and up to date. Okay, that's also makes sense. Organizations and people who collect personal information needs to make sure they take all the steps they need to make sure the information they collect and hold is correct, right? This also includes where they get their information. The source of it must be clear. You would not ask a child, okay, example is you would not ask a child how much their parents spend each month on their energy bills, would you? Okay. Not keeping information for longer than necessary. Okay, there's a time duration. Okay. Organizations and people who process personal information need to look at how long they keep the information for and what is the reason for which they keep it. When the personal information they have is no longer useful or it becomes out of date, they need to make sure they delete or destroy it in a very secure way. True. Process information securely. People and organizations who process data need to make sure they have the right security measures in place to make sure that nobody who isn't supposed to can access this information. Yes, only authorized users can access one's personal information, and for data at rest, you keep it encrypted. Only on demand, you decrypt it and ensure when you're building a publication, data is transmitted securely. All right. They need to be very clear about who is responsible for keeping information safe and that they have the right policies that explain what everyone needs to do to keep information safe. Okay, they also need to be ready to report it straight away if someone who isn't supposed to manage to access this personal information. Okay, think of everything you have learned about GDPR, about personal information and about your rights and responsibilities. Now ask yourself, do you have any paper files with personal information on them? Where do you keep them? Are they stored in a secure way? Do you ever upload personal information on external websites like Dropbox? Do you delete personal information after you no longer need it? Do you leave personal information visible on your screen when someone else can see it from behind you? Do you log out when you leave your desk for more than a minute or two? Okay. Do you need to take documents with personal information outside the office, like when you are working from home? If you do you keep them safe? Okay. Do you have a password on your computer, laptop, tablet? Okay, makes sense. Do you give the Wi-Fi password to anybody? Okay, some basics, cyber security. When you receive or send confidential documents in the post, are these marked as confidential? Do you look after them properly? Even in email you can mark it as confidential. Do you make sure the person you are speaking to on the phone is truly who they say they are before you give them personal information? Do you make sure the person you are speaking to on the phone is truly who they say they are before you give them personal information? Who they say they are. Let me read it properly. I'm not reading it properly. Do you make sure the person you are speaking to on the phone is truly who they say they are before you give personal information? Okay, right. Do you ever leave confidential information on a voicemail? Means asking to ourselves, right? Do you ever discuss confidential information with someone while other people are around? What about in cafes and open offices? Do you discuss confidential information only with the people who need it to know? Okay, that's good. Okay, it's too good. So I like this document. And I appreciate it, right? I think it was taken out from www.changepeople.org. I will have this in this description of the YouTube video where I hosted, and I really appreciate this particular changepeople.org who has done this documents. It's too good. I appreciate it. I hope this information was informative, and thank you for watching.